right, welcome back to Wake Up with Christopher DeSimone on the Live the Dream Media Network. And let's go right to it. I know he's a busy guy. He's in the truck heading to the dump. It's our good friend, returning to the show, Dr. Robert Malone. Dr. Malone, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thanks. I was caught up in CPAC, which is quite an event, and the trash has to be taken out. So today's the day.
If you guys are not familiar with Dr. Malone, we have a inspirational picture of him on the screen. You might have remembered him from is it famous or infamous, the Joe Rogan interview that created quite a stir that everyone we thought Joe got in trouble for ivermectin. Bringing on Malone almost really got him in trouble.
Yeah, so famous or infamous all depends. It's a litmus test for where you are on the political spectrum.
It's true. You know, it's funny. Even the juveniles that run Wikipedia, they're still putting Malone promoted misinformation about the safety of the vaccines. I'm like, did you know? I think you're looking pretty good now, Dr. Malone.
Yeah. Well. So there was this recent Rogan hit that with let's see, who was it? Woody Harrelson. That a little clip has been circulating around where Joe says that Malone got everything right.
I saw that.
So that's not going to win him points. That's not going to win him points with Google and the advertisers.
Well, you figured, Google's now putting Gulf of America on their map, so I figured they might, now that they're seeing which way the wind's blowing, maybe there'll be a little forgiveness in their heart for Dr. Malone.
Oh, from your lips to God's ears. My wife was doing some AI searches the other day, and it was like the various Perplexity AIs and the Google AI. They won't mention my name. I'm blacklisted that bad.
AI will cover every piece of crap humanly possible, but they won't touch Malone. Well, you're in the right spot then.
Right.
You're in the right spot.
That plus I had a hit on me from Media Matters about a month ago, which is a total badge of honor.
So I want to get to the new book, Psy Wars, but I do want to say real quick. So I was on Team Reality, COVID Reality from the beginning in this show. Took a lot of crap from it. Even had a guy, believe it or not, threatened to shoot me in the parking lot one day as part of being on Team COVID
Welcome
Reality.
To the club.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
and
you're another mass murderer for dissuading people from taking the safe and effective vaccine quote unquote product.
Correct. So I keep saying everything we talked about since the beginning of COVID and how it was mishandled and of course profiteered off of by many. Was there anything we were wrong about, Dr. Malone? Because it's a hollow victory lap, but I feel like we were right on everything. What weren't we right about?
Well, there's still some, there's out on the edges. There was no virus. There was no pandemic. And another one, I'm not going to mention names, but another prominent doctor had said one and done. Matter of fact, he said it on Rogan. If you get infected with COVID once, you're done with it. And obviously I wish that was the case. So there's some things, and the nattering nabobs have posted that I had reposted a couple of tweets that turned out to be not true, and I hadn't apologized for it. So there's that.
Nice going. What I notice is people that are in my world, mostly professionally, that have multiple boosters and stuff, they seem to get the flu or COVID every 2.5 weeks now.
So to that point, there's a Yale study out now. Yale was the one that did the big propaganda piece that basically in a clinical trial tested the various propaganda language we got, like the whole logic that none of us are safe until everybody's been jabbed and that kind of stuff. And you got to take this to save grandma and all that kind of stuff. That all came out of Yale. So just to set the standard. But they've now published a study that shows that the spike protein stays in your body for at least 600 days and that it's associated with immunosuppression. So yes, chalk up another one for the conspiracy theorists.
So talk about talk about your life now that we're post coming out of the horrible COVID situation to writing Wars. What led you to the Wars book? Let's start there.
Well, so both this is our second book together, really our third. The first one we put out in February of 2020 was How to Prepare and Protect Yourself from the Novel Coronavirus. And within a month and a half, Amazon had taken that down because we, quote, violated community standards. Written by an MD, MS, and a PhD, highly referenced, but we violated community standards by, I guess, just talking about it. Then the next one was Lies My Government Told Me and the Better Future Coming, which is in part kind of a journal of what had happened to a lot of different people, me, Pierre Curry, Meryl Nass, a lot of others, and some chapters about what to do about it. And then as we're writing our Substack, because this is what we use Substack for in part, I mean, the truth is that Substack is what pays the bills. Yep. Books don't make much money at all. But so as we were going beyond that first book together, the Lies book, we kept writing, and we realized that a whole lot of what we had put out on Substack had to do with psychological warfare, fifth generation warfare, propaganda, a lot of the dynamics going on social media. And we said, okay, well, we've written so much about this, we ought to pull together a book that is about psychological warfare and propaganda. And so then we had to take those old essays, revise them, and add new content to kind of structure the whole thing into a logical progression. And we kind of start with the assassination of the president and then move forward from there. I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about John F. Kennedy.
Yep.
And all the propaganda around JFK and the denialism that the government was involved in the assassination, et cetera. And it kind of, to your point, yes, we all had our eyes, or those of us that are not in the cult of woke, had our eyes opened by what happened with COVID. But then you got to ask yourself a couple of key questions. Are we really the good guys? For me, that was an eye-opener. And, of course, now the USAID disclosures pretty well document, not so much. And then the next one, well, how long have we been lied to? How long has this been going on? And that's why we begin the book, kind of the timeline with the assassination, because certainly that was a major milestone in government propaganda and manipulation. And it's just gotten worse from there.
So the assassination of John F. Kennedy, what was the build up to that moment that we had to have a full court press on not just killing a U.S. president, but the cover up of after killing doing something called the Warren Report that was, I don't know how many hundreds of pages that crap was. What was going on in America at that point? Cover up. Is this? Are we going to go industrial military complex? Where are we at with this? Which I'm okay with, if that's the answer.
So, industrial military complex kind of just scratches the surface. You'll remember JFK said that he was going to break up the CIA, that the CIA had become too powerful and it was out of control. And, that was then. Since then, we've had Operation Mockingbird, and, they clearly control the press. And that was what's lovely, again, about these Doge USAID disclosures, is we found out, as Mike Benz said, great line, the stuff that's too dirty for the CIA, they put off to USAID. USAID has always been a CIA cutout. And remember, you don't forget that Barack Obama's mom worked for USAID.
So I just want to make sure you're saying that. So the president that wanted to break up the CIA started something called USAID that 50 years later was now the place where we were throwing things for CIA operations that didn't go through the CIA. Just want to make sure I heard that right.
I don't remember. So when did it start? USAID.
I think JFK started Kennedy. It. I'm going to look it up, but keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So for sure. So that would be the story. Yeah. Well, this is a great example of how the bureaucrats take great ideas. Like the latest one that we're wound up about is One Health. And they take those interesting ideas that have, a kind of a moral backbone, and then they twist and turn them to the point where they're just completely weaponized to advance whatever the hell agenda it is that they want to pursue. And what I loved, I don't know if you listened to that Mike Benz Tucker interview that was
I've heard some
7th
clips
of this month, the beginning of this month. Yeah, so, Mike, it was interesting. Tucker actually wasn't very happy about that. I talked to him because Mike Benz, it sure sounds like he's angling for a job at State. But the whole discussion that we are an empire and we have to use soft power because that's what empires do in order to support our standard of living. And so a lot of this stuff is justifiable. I'm not okay with that, but that is kind of where all this went. And then it got twisted, under Obama and then weaponized like crazy under Biden.
So 1961, John F. Kennedy established U.S. Agency for International Development to help counter Soviet influence during the Cold War. So yes.
Yeah, okay. So you got it right. Yeah, that is pretty perverse, but welcome to DC.
So I guess in relation to the Psy War on the American, so who participates in the Psy War? What's the team of bad actors that work together on what you're talking about?
So we have the documents now consequent to the Twitter files and the Facebook files and all the disclosures that have come out from Taibbi and all the others.
Yep.
That what we really had was this matrix that was built not only around national intelligence, but then Homeland Security and CISA and the academics, the Stanford Internet Observatory, were all brought in and funded. And you'll recall probably Barack Obama's speech at the Hoover Institute a few years ago, where he basically said censorship was necessary to preserve democracy, right? A total non sequitur. But what we had was almost a whole of government, but absolutely the hub resided within Homeland Security under Mayorkas. You'll recall, or maybe you won't, but I was, I've been in the fire, so I'm very aware of all this stuff, that Mayorkas declared that mis, dis, and malinformation were domestic terrorism.
Right.
And then there's and that's why the tagline on the Psy-War book, Defending the New World Order or Enforcing the New World Order, there's these World Economic Forum and UN associated groups, particularly the WEF, that set up this coalition of advertisers and set up this thing called GARM, the Global Association for Responsible Media, GARM, which is the one that Elon Musk sued. And they all have these lovely names for their stuff. And GARM, it turns out, it's just a fun anecdote. It was documented by I think it was the House Judiciary and the investigation on weaponization of government, that what happened after that Rogan hit that you were referring to, that, all we heard about was Neil Young blew a gasket, right? And he was going to take his stuff off of Spotify. What really happened was not Neil Young's little hissy fit, but it was that Coca-Cola put pressure on GARM, which is an international organization, which put pressure on Spotify to deplatform Rogan. Otherwise, GARM would cause all the advertisers to pull their advertising money out of Spotify. So that was the cascade. It was Coca-Cola that was behind that.
Interesting. GARM, I love that. I'm a mythology guy. According to my brain, that's the bloodstained guardian of hell in Norse mythology. So, perfect.
Lovely. You'll notice on the cover of Psy-War has Cerberus.
Oh.
And the reason I picked that.
I was even. Sorry.
Yeah, so guardian of hell in Greek mythology, that is the multi-headed dog. And I just thought Cerberus was the perfect metaphor because we've got FBI, CIA, and Homeland Security guarding hell, which is this future that they're creating for us, where we're all subjected to this technology.
Hey, one of the listeners hit me in a comment. They wanted to know, when you're talking about people who were, kind of marginalized during the COVID wars, They want to know if, because you're a California guy, right, Dr. Malone? You used to live in California.
I'm a California native. But I'm a expat to Virginia. I love Virginia, and I couldn't stand California anymore.
They want to know what happened to the. Remember the two Bakersfield doctors that came out a month after COVID blew up? Remember those two guys?
I know them very well.
What?
Yeah, I know them very well.
What happened to those two guys? Because they seemed to be disappeared pretty quick.
No, they wrote a book. Brian ran for Congress in California and lost. They continue to have a very active practice there. They're local heroes, of course. They saved hundreds and hundreds of lives. And they continue to serve basically a poor, indigent, Hispanic, kind of farm worker population, bless their hearts. And absolutely have done excellent work, but as you say, they're overlooked. But as far as I'm concerned, they're both friends and true heroes.
Awesome. What's the defense against against Cerberus here of the Psy War? We're big believers that culture is only going to change through a strengthening of faith, family, and schools, which is going to take decades.
Amen.
But what are we?
Amen. And also, so we have had, the war is engaged finally, and you'll see in the last chapter I talk about the upcoming war and that we can't really predict what the outcome has been. But for sure, the battle lines have been engaged, and Donald J. Trump is carrying the spear for one side right now globally. And there was just another major tussle in Germany.
Yep.
In this election they just had, and I can tell you, Europe is just tearing itself apart right now because they're censoring the progressives, and meanwhile their economies are in the tank. Not the least of which is Germany, where China is basically destroying methodically German industrial base, particularly their automobile manufacturing. So you might want to do like me. If you like German cars, get them now while they're still petrol-based. Because that industry is just collapsing, and you're not going to see the kind of quality out of BMW and Audi and Porsche and Mercedes-Benz like you've seen in the past, because those factories and that industry is going away because of the predatory capitalism from China. So here in the States, you ask what the solution is. I'm trying. So I am finding myself with a little bit of influence on this administration, particularly in the Maha world. And what I'm really trying to do, I've become very enamored of Murray Rothbard and the Austrian School of Economics. And in fact, I met with Javier Milei at CPAC and got some neat photos. I said anarcho-capitalism, and he got this great big grin on his face, which, that he is Austrian School Economics. He is a Murray Rothbard fan. And apparently also wields a chainsaw. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is try to keep Maha aware and thinking about more libertarian points of view. I think it's okay and it's good. We have to stop the poisoning of our food. We have to make people aware of what they're eating. But what I really don't want is another government program telling us all how we have to live our lives. The way I put it again and again, I said this on the stage at CPAC, if somebody wants to eat McDonald's hamburgers and drink Coca-Cola, by God, they should be able to do it. We shouldn't be stopping them from doing that. We do need to tell them what's in it, and if there are poisons in there, like the glyphosate that's in all of our grains and soy products, then we got to get that out of there. But I think that we got it. The risk with the whole Maha movement is that, frankly, it comes from a liberal base, and yeah, it's in coalition right now with MAGA, but the gut reaction in Maha is more regulation, not deregulation, and empowering people. And as I argued on the stage at CPAC, public health is basically socialist. It's grounded in utilitarian principles, and it is based on the idea of optimizing the greatest health outcome for the greatest number. And what I argue is that what we need to optimize is access to health for all. So equal opportunity for health for all, but not focus on equal outcomes. If people want to engage in cigar smoking or whatever, they ought to have the right to do it so long as they understand what the potential consequences is. And I reject this argument that, well, we can't let people do things that are going to cause them to be more of a burden on the health infrastructure. If we go down that road, it is absolutely the road to hell.
So, a good friend of the show, and I don't know if you ever met Congressman David Schweikert from Arizona. He's on Ways and Means, senior member, and he keeps talking about one of the things about MAHA is the idea that better health and has a huge financial effect on budget and debt over the next 10 to 20 years. It's
true.
Yeah, and so one day you should go hang out with Schweikert. You guys could go nerd it out for quite a while. He's a pretty smart cookie. I think you guys would.
That'd be nice. I generally have better sockets because of Ron in Senate than in House, MTG and Massey are kind of buddies, but I don't know. I'm really not that integrated into the House of Representatives. I probably should be, and who knows? There's chatter like I might find myself in some sort of advisory position with the administration, but I'm not counting my chickens on that.
Well, I think you guys would just make that tie that together, and of course, the cost of diabetes and obesity keeps coming up when we have financial conversations about the economy.
Absolutely. If there's one thing, remember, Bobby has got a mandate from Trump that he has to show measurable improvements in health of American citizens within 12 to 18 months. Now that is a big lift. And the question is, what things can be done that would give you a signal, would bump the needle on that? One of them is to make some progress with the fentanyl crisis. Fentanyl is killing well over 300 people a day. It's frankly killing at the rate that supposedly COVID was killing in the United States. And almost nothing has been done about it. Now Trump is blocking small parcels, and he's basically trying to put the screws on China to stop the fentanyl flow into the United States, which I'm convinced by the people that work in this space that it is absolutely a weapon of war what they're doing. So that's one. Obesity is another one. But obesity and diet changes, they're going to take a little while.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing a groundhog. I thought it was a wild turkey.
So what I was going to say to you is Tucson, Arizona is a very leftist totalitarian city, okay?
Yeah, and sorry about that.
Well, I live outside of it, so I have some a little bit of a barrier there, but
it's pretty there. It's pretty.
Beautiful.
I like Scottsdale even more. Yeah, I lot to be said for that kind of barren Arizona with the mountains and the tabletops, and it's really pretty. I love Scottsdale, and I especially love the water parks.
Well, you'll one day if you ever come to Tucson, let us know. We'll give you the sites. But the same people that were COVID lockdown people and talking about all the 300 deaths per day are the same ones that advocate for a hugely open border with Biden and Mayorkas, and now they're all looking around going, why is there so much fentanyl in the streets of Tucson? It's just...
Yeah, so they're a cult. I mean, that's the truth, is there's all kinds of signs that what we're dealing with the left and the woke crowd is cult-like behavior. They don't want to hear, and this is why they were running for the hills on Twitter, is because they didn't want to hear information that was inconsistent with their worldview. And that's why they're perplexed. It seems like they're barking mad, but in fact, they are wrapped up in a cult where information that you and I have available, they just don't have access to, and they listen to corporate media, and that's why corporate media has a vanishing population, and they're just holding on for dear life to the kind of MSNBC, CBS, CNN viewership, and it's just going down and down and down and down. But they can't seem to change their tune to reach the center of the United States with honest information. And so it's no wonder.
One of the listeners wanted to know before I let you go is do you see any movement in the people that were damaged by the mRNA vaccines getting any sort of legal recourse? Are you seeing any sort of breaking down of that wall, and is that even possible?
It's possible. It would require, and I think that might be one of the barriers to the government acknowledging what they've done, is that and that's it's now acceptable to talk about the laboratory origin of the virus. That was outside the Overton window until recently, right?
Yeah.
But talking about the harms and government responsibility for the harms is a problem, and corporate responsibility. What is allowed now is the legal cases about the overriding with the jab policy, mandated jabs and lockdowns, is the people that overrid the religious mandates, and those ones are getting hit with big fines right now in civil lawsuits.
Okay.
So they're starting, and I've testified on some of those. There's starting to be movement there. There's some guy walking up my driveway here that wants to talk to me about something.
Look at this.
There's starting to be some movement. One moment.
Yep. No
hey,
problem.
I'm on a broadcast right now. Okay, what's up?
I fed some beetles. I just wonder if they came down through the.
What are you looking for?
Beetle dogs.
Nope, I haven't seen a beagle. I've seen some groundhogs, but no beagles.
No, that's Virginia right there. The guy's voice. You can see some bagels. Right. You got some bagels out there.
You got it. I love Virginia.
What part of Virginia? Not that I want to give anyone to. What part of Virginia do you live in?
No, I talk about it all the time. Oh. Actually, I'm kind of a local hero here. So the folks around me are well armed. So just be aware of that. And they're big fans. So we live up against the Shenandoah. Shenandoah National Park is just a few miles from here. We kind of look out over it. And about half hour north of Charlottesville and an hour and a half south of Dulles Airport. For me, it blows my mind. The county we live in, Madison County in Virginia, has the same population it had in World War II, and yet we're an hour and a half from one of the great airports of the world. I am so fortunate to live here.
I love it. I have a good friend. He lives on more on the coast at Chesapeake, but he just took his boys. You're going to love this. He took them. They did the hiking camping at Grayson Highlands over on the border. I
don't know Grayson Highlands.
It's over on the North Carolina border towards the southwestern corner. But of course, it was right during the amazing snowstorm you guys just got. So.
Oh, right. Which is, global warming is a real problem. We've had more snow than we had in years.
So give us before we say goodbye, Dr. Malone, give us what gives you hope for the America and society right now, even in the face of the three-headed dog that guards hell. Give us a little hope here.
Donald, what that national election we just had was mind-blowing. I hang out with some high-powered conservatives, like for instance, we're buddies with the people that run CPAC, and their farm is like 5 miles from ours. And a year ago, as I look back, we were all down in the mouth thinking that they were going to steal the election, they were going to assassinate Trump. There's no way they would allow Trump to become president, blah, 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 blah. And here we are. And I just came back from CPAC, which was just this amazing celebration of the future. There, it is morning in America, my friends. And the question is, because the fight is not over.
No, just started.
All of the ugly censorship and all that is still ongoing. They're going to come back at us, the globalists, the WHO, the UN, the WEF. None of that has stopped. But, for the first time, and I can tell you, I back from just a couple of weeks ago, the Make Europe Great Again conference in Brussels, in the European Parliament. And European populist conservatives are fired up. I got to keep the emu from escaping. So it is a new day, and we have a chance now that we didn't think we were going to have, and I'm pretty happy about that.
So basically, the silver lining of the last 4 years of hell of COVID and all this stuff is that the overreach actually might have woken up a critical mass of our fellow brothers and sisters that we can build on.
I can tell you that Donald Trump is still all in that these were safe and effective, and that Operation Warp Speed and the jab is among his greatest achievements. He
won't admit that was bad. He won't say that's not in his DNA.
We've got some work to do. Yeah, it's and they want RNA vaccines for everything. They want RNA vaccines for the bird flu. The bird flu propaganda is just starting. If you read this book, look at chapter 4 on psychological bioterrorism, and it's going to blow your mind, because it's all based on this interview from a former KGB agent that was in charge of basically their bioterror activities. And he lays out this standard spycraft of weaponizing fear of infectious disease. And when you read that and you go through the steps and the roles that different groups play, and academics and et cetera, you're just like, oh my God, we've just lived through that once with COVID, and now we're going to be living it with bird flu. And so we're, and you've got, but they were sticking people in that are all in on this Agenda 2030 One Health initiative into the administration while Bobby was distracted getting confirmed. And that the deep state and the senior executive service is, still going to try to have their way with us, and still going to try to weaponize infectious disease again and again and again, just like Peter Hotez warned last December.
Well, the good thing is that what we're seeing from the Doge dynamic is that Americans do have the appetite for reforming government. So hopefully it moves over into that world too, Dr. Malone.
Yep, amen. I think Doge is a total game changer, and it's almost, you could think of it almost as a pilot program that could be deployed in governments all over the world.
Amen.
It's a new day.
Well, you brought it all to us today. Psy-War enforcing the New World Order. Your Beagle guy was amazing. Groundhog, and and there may or may not be an emu in the truck with you, is what you're telling me.
Oh no, I chased him away from the gates, so we're good.
Is it your emu or just a local emu?
Yeah. No, it's our emu.
One more.
We got it. The wife got the emu to keep the foxes away.
And what's the emu's name?
Gizmo.
Thank you. Now we've done it all with Dr. Robert Malone. Dr. Malone, I always love talking to you. I hope we can do it again soon. And then I hope you do get into the administration, because Bobby is going to need help over there.
Thanks. And thanks for having me on. And I look forward to the next one, too.
All right, my friend. Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Dr. Robert Malone, Psy-War, Enforcing the New World Order. Get the book out there. Amazon and other fine booksellers. Hopefully they won't deplatform them this time. So let's go visit some great sponsors. When we come back, I got tabs like you would tabs. We'll preview tomorrow's show with Bruce Ash. Is going to be very fun. It's going to be Girl Power Day tomorrow, and I'll explain that when we come back on the Live the Dream Media Network.